And I wish now I could unconsolidate them. I really mean that. A youngster gets lost in a great big school. And they need to be individuals that the teacher knows, the principal knows. They need to know their colleagues. They need to be able to get on the ball teams and the various other teams and be in the clubs and everything else. So if you all get ready to build some more schools, don't make them big.
Governor Jim Hunt. The Goldsboro City Council was told last night by Neuse River keeper Rick Dove that the city needs to find other ways to get rid of its sewage and treated water. He suggested land application and also selling the treated water to farmers. Dove said the wastewater the city of Goldsboro dumps into the Neuse River annually would fill tanker cars stretching from Goldsboro to California. Dove made it clear he was not present to oppose the expansion of Goldsboro sewage treatment plant. For WGBR, I'm Wayne Alley.
Skies will stay mostly cloudy the rest of today. High temperatures ranging from 40s in the northern counties to a few 50s southward. A chance of rain developing this evening. Could be a couple of sprinkles this afternoon, but not many. Most of the rain will be after sunset. Rainy tonight and tomorrow through the morning. Lows in the low to mid-40s tonight. The rain ending in the afternoon tomorrow. Highs ranging from 40s in the north to, again, some 50s southward. I'm Bill Schmidt at the Weather Center.
Broadcast excellence on the 1150 WGBR.
There's a shout here. What are they going to say? William Shatner? William Shatner!
Dangerous Rush Limbaugh.
Making the complex understandable and frustratingly so to those who want the complex to be complex. As long as I'm here, the complex won't be. And here's an example. All right, folks. I'm just going to give this to you straight between the eyes on this whole business of Tom Foley suing the voters. I'm going to give you the legal arguments. I have here in my formerly nicotine-stained fingers. Yes, and they are still formerly nicotine-stained fingers. I have here the actual legal approaches both sides will take to this. And this is going to illustrate my arrogance argument when it comes to the leadership of the House of Representatives. Do you know who Griffin Bell is? Griffin Bell was the Attorney General for President Carter. He is the lawyer for Term Limits Legal Institute. They are the people representing the voters of the state of Washington. They're the ones who want term limits. He is going to suggest, pardon me while I burp here for a moment. Okay. He is going to argue that the states were specifically given power in the Constitution to regulate access to their ballots, and that the Supreme Court has upheld most of the restrictions imposed by the states. He's also going to contend that the 10th Amendment, and that's where all of this centers. You know what that one is. The 10th Amendment reserves powers not specifically granted to the federal government to the states or the people. In other words, if there is a power not defined in the Constitution, it's not a federal power, it's a state power or a local form of power. And Mr. Bell says that that clinches the constitutional right of a state, such as Washington, to impose term limits on its own members of Congress. Tom Foley's lawyers are led by Lloyd Cutler, who was Jimmy Carter's legal counsel. It's Democrat versus Democrat in suing the people. Now, this is what's interesting. In a legal brief that was filed last month, Foley's lawyers argue that none of the contemporary interpretations of the 10th Amendment, and this is the words from their brief, these are the words, lend even remote support to the proposition that a state or its people can control any aspect of the federal government. May I read that to you again? Foley and his legal team will argue that none of the contemporary interpretations of the 10th Amendment lend even remote, and I tell you, contemporary interpretations is key, because one of the arguments that always rages in America is over original intent. What did the founders intend when they wrote the Constitution? Liberals, of course, hate original intent as a concept, because they've so bastardized the Constitution, they found things that aren't there, and said, that's a right, and that's a right, and that's a right. And they look at things that are there and say, well, they didn't mean that. They couldn't have known what they were talking about, those idiot founding fathers. They couldn't possibly have known what the country was going to become. If they were alive today, they would take that out. We just know it. We're liberals and we know better. We're arrogant. So it's contemporary interpretations, which means recent Supreme Courts, which means we are in heap big trouble legally on this. Because recent Supreme Courts have stood original intent on its head. That's why we needed Robert Bork on the court to preserve the concept of original intent. Now just listen to this brief again. None of the contemporary interpretations of the 10th Amendment lend even remote support to the proposition that the people can control any aspect of the federal government. What Foley is saying is that you have no right to assert any power over your government, when, according to the Constitution, your government is you. But you have no right. You have no right to assert any power. So there you have it. After 200 years of the Constitution, 200 years after it was written and drafted, the federal official second in line for the presidency now contends that the federal government is beyond whatever attempts at control may be directed at it. That's what's important here, because this case is going to go to the Supreme Court. And it doesn't matter who's paying for it, and I'm not trying to offend our first caller, but who's paying for it doesn't matter and all that. What matters here is the constitutional issue and the future. It's going to go to the Supreme Court, and if the Supreme Court finds in favor of the Speaker of the House, that will then be yet another contemporary interpretation of the 10th Amendment, which says that no, it doesn't mean that just because a right is not specifically enumerated here, that it automatically goes to the states or the people. No, Congress can control itself, and the people have no say-so over it. Using this, now I'm going to take this out to an extreme that probably will never happen, but I mean, you've got to follow the logical progression. Suppose someday that Tom Foley decided that the people are just too stupid to vote. Suppose that some liberal Speaker of the House decided that he's looked at voting patterns over the last 50 years and people have just elected the wrong people. Suppose they look at New Jersey's gubernatorial election. Suppose they look at the election of the mayor of New York, mayor of Los Angeles, senator from Texas, senator from Georgia, governor of Virginia. Suppose they look at all those elections. You know, people really goofed up there. I think the people are failing in their responsibility to elect liberals. People are failing in their responsibility to elect good Democrats. We've got to do something about this voting business. I mean, the founders wrote it, sure, they've said it all up, but, you know, they never envisioned that people like Ronald Reagan would win and that people like Rush Limbaugh would be on the radio. How could they possibly have known the threats posed to democracy by such things? Now, it probably won't happen, but that's the legal foundation which could be built for such challenges. And if you think these people, you know, I once worked for a baseball team. I once worked for the Kansas City Royals. And I'm not going to mention any names here, but I remember walking through the press box, and there's all kinds of people in the press box, from club officials to sports writers to visiting scouts and all that. And I can remember there'd be a questionable call by the official scorer on a ground ball, whether it was a hit or an error. And the official scorer would flash his decision up on the scoreboard, and the fans would boo. And I heard many people in that press box, "Oh, the heck with the fans, what do they know? Bunch of idiots. Fans don't know beans about it." Fans are the game. I mean, the fans don't play the game, but they support it. And to sit there, and baseball is simply an escape from reality. I mean, baseball is really not anything other than people. It's something in which you can invest total passion without consequence. I mean, it's an escape. It's fantasy land. It's where you go to get away from your trials and tribulations. If you want to boo the official scorer, fine. But then you had some arrogant baseball purists up there. Well, heck with the fans. I can remember being in certain ballparks, watching people with cops run down a concourse toward the right or left field corner, and I would say, "Where are they going? Was there trouble down there?" "Yeah, somebody's dancing down there." "Oh, they're having fun? They're dancing?" "Yeah, they're dancing down there. It doesn't look good from the press box. It doesn't look good up there. People can't see because that idiot woman is dancing." I mean, so that kind of arrogance is all over. Look, if you think that the people in the United States Congress do not look at you, the voters, as uninformed dolts, who for the most part get it wrong. You're just a bunch of people to be fooled most of the time, especially by liberals, folks. Take a look at Clinton. You are nothing but a group of people to be fooled. His whole political career centers on the number of people he can fool. The more he can fool, the more successful he'll be. So this is a serious, I think, thing when the Speaker of the House, an employee, decides to look at the Constitution and say, no, it doesn't say that. The people of this country have no control over any aspect of their government. Chilling thing. Can't be allowed for them to get away with. We'll be back with more after this.
You're listening to the EIB Network. Now, the American Spectator blows the lid off the cover-up to change the course of the 1992 presidential election. In the January issue at newsstands now, David Brock, author of The Real Anita Hill, uncovers a pattern of lies and law-breaking, including misuse of public funds and services for the facilitation of numerous extramarital affairs. Brock reveals that even after Bill and Hillary Clinton proclaimed on 60 Minutes that their marital difficulties were over, the affairs, deceptions, and abuse of public trust and money continued, right up to the inauguration. This astonishing report, the result of months of investigation, exposes unlawful attempts by administration staffers and the president himself to suppress this story and sheds new shocking light on the suicide of Vince Foster. Call 800-331-8848 and we'll open your subscription to the American Spectator today, starting with the blockbuster January issue. Call 800-331-8848. For $34.95, you'll get 12 issues of the American Spectator, including this major investigative report in your very first issue. Call 800-331-8848 now.
Knowles Carpet has been serving Goldsboro and Wayne County for over 45 years with quality installation of carpet and floor covering. Family dedication to this business has been enjoyed by thousands of customers. Joining Carpet One 5 years ago gave Knowles Carpet the additional buying power of 450 other stores to bring you the best prices available. Put it all together and it means quality floor covering and expert installation by a truly family dedicated business. Knowles Carpet, your Carpet One store, 2311 Wayne Memorial Drive, Goldsboro.
The same movies all month long. Stations you don't like. A bill that gets bigger as the service gets smaller. Sound familiar? Yes, it sounds like I'm tied to the railroad tracks and you're snidely whiplash. AIM Electronics has the answer to the TV blues. The Tar Heel antenna, specially made for this area, picks up both UHF and VHF frequency, giving you the area stations you want with great reception at just $49.95, and there's no monthly bill. AIM Electronics, 411 East Ash Street, Goldsboro.
State Office Equipment Company of Goldsboro is the place to buy office furniture for less. Super Steno chairs, just $99.95, and chair mats, only $19.95. Oak or walnut desk for as little as $179.95, and much more. State Office Equipment Company is perfect for churches, clubs, and businesses that are on a budget. And aren't we all? And State Office Equipment Company delivers. For office furniture at a discount, check out State Office Equipment Company, 2211A East Ash Street in Goldsboro. Call 731-3000.
I know you've enjoyed the weekday lunch buffet at Madison's on New Hope Road, but did you know that it's available on Sundays too? And it's even bigger and better? It's the weekday lunch buffet on Sunday, plus steamed shrimp, fried oysters, and more, and it's only $5.99. What a treat! 5 to 7 vegetables and meats, a salad bar and dessert, plus shrimp and oysters. And now that famous Madison Surf and Turf buffet you've heard so much about is available Sundays beginning at 5 p.m. My mouth's watering just telling you about it. You owe it to yourself and your family to dine at Madison's New Hope Road, Goldsboro.
Paying the price for love. New Bee Gees tune didn't do as well as I thought it would do. That's why I am in talk radio and no longer spinning discs from the graveyard of forgotten favorites. Because I really thought this would be a huge smash. 800-28... What? What are you laughing at? Would it play records? Yeah, you know, I wouldn't mind going back and being a jock for a day, but people don't jock anymore the way I jocked. I mean, it doesn't happen. I don't think. I don't listen to enough radio to know. Who cares? I should do it my way anyway. Play a song by Carly Simon and introduce it. Hey, here's old banjo lips, Carly Simon. Da-da-da-da. Yeah, it might be fun. It would. 800-282-2882 to Carson City, Nevada. This is Bill. Glad you called, sir. Welcome to the program.
This is Bill in Carson City. I watched a movie last night, which I'm really upset about. Columbo movie in which Shatner played, unmistakably, somebody named Rush.
No, he didn't play. No.
Well, it couldn't have been patterned after anyone but you, in which I feel you've been portrayed as a killer, of a bigot, a liar, and a killer of a homosexual, etc. And I was really upset about this, and I think that, if it was me, I might try to get some legal action against anybody that would do a thing like that. This is a typical Hollywood attitude thing and trying to run you down. I'm pretty upset about it.
You sound like you are. Now, because of the way they promoted the show, William Shatner rushes in trying to stump Columbo. The world's most popular conservative talk show host rushes in. But what was the guy's name? Fielding Chase.
Yes.
That's not Rush.
No.
Not Rush. The guy had a mustache.
Yeah.
Guy had a big house. I have a tiny apartment. Guy drove a Mercedes. I don't have a car.
Well, they were trying to show you as a rich.
But look. Did you really see any similarity in this guy? And...
no, I didn't.
Yeah, okay.
But that's what they're trying to present you as being a person like Fielding Chase.
Let me tell you something. I have developed this answer to things like this, whether it be humor or satire or whatever. It fails miserably if there's no truth in it. If it's not rooted in truth, it doesn't work. I don't think, look, I watched a little bit of this. I did because I was curious. I didn't see any similarity to me whatsoever. Now, your concern is, I think, that people who don't listen to me are going to...
People that don't listen to you are going to think they're portraying, that this is the kind of person you are. That's the problem.
Well, what can you do about that?
Okay, what
can you do about that? I mean,
your answer sounds like a good one. I would be I'm upset about it, but I guess you're not, so it's okay.
You know something, Bill? I spoke a little bit yesterday about what's happened to me in these 5 years, and I mean, if I could go on for an hour about that, and I think it'd be pretty boring to people. I think it'd be a little bit self-indulgent, but I could sit here and tell you what was in my mind and what my dreams were when I moved to New York, and then contrast those dreams and reasons I came here to embark on this whole show. And then contrast the reality with what I thought would happen and tell you it's two totally different things. One of the things that I have had to get used to a long, long time ago is it's like the best illustration I've come up with for it yet is to say there are two Rush Limbaughs. And the Rush Limbaugh that you know has got 17 and a half hours a week on the air, has 7 million books in print, about which 5.5 are sold. More than that. Almost 6 million are sold now. And there's a newsletter with over 430,000 subscribers. I mean, what and who I am is an open book, no pun intended. And yet, here are these caricatures, and here are these misrepresentations, and here are these purposeful misstatements about what I say, what I am, what I believe. And there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, it's part of the territory. It's been going on for 3 years. And while it's been going on, look at the success track. It's almost straight up. None of this stuff has hurt. It hasn't hurt economically. It hasn't hurt ratings-wise. It hasn't hurt us in business. It could have had we handled it incorrectly or whatever. No, I'm not saying this stuff is insignificant. Don't misunderstand. And I am very flattered that you have taken offense at this. And I understand why you have. I used to. I have just, for some reason, maybe this is to sell it short, but to me, this is just part of the territory. And and I've always, when all this stuff first started, I would see you talk about agony, I'd sit around and I'd say, God, how do you respond to this? Do you even mention it and elevate it beyond the level it currently is, this criticism or a specific item of criticism, or do you just ignore it and let it live its own short life and die as it will? And I have just opted in most cases for the latter. Now, let me tell you how we've done. Can you hang on? I got to take a break here. But
yeah.
One of the things that has happened in the past year and a half is that I have been assaulted by Arsenio Hall on his show. I'd like to tell you how we've dealt with that. which I think is the best way. Can you hang on?
Sure.
Don't go away.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
Hi, Rush Limbaugh here. You know, a major university recently surveyed over 600 employers as to why job applicants do not get hired. Number one reason, poor communication skills. People do judge us by the words we use, and Verbal Advantage, a complete audio cassette vocabulary program, will give you the word power you need to communicate with authority and flair. To learn more, call now, 1-800-28-TAPES. That's 800-28-TAPES.
If you think all vitamin C's are the same, you need to know about Natrol Ester C. It takes effect faster, delivers more vitamin C where it's needed, and stays there longer. Natrol Ester C is the most potent form of vitamin C, yet it won't upset your stomach, even in large doses, because it's non-acidic. Natrol Ester C is the vitamin C that's faster acting, longer lasting, and powerful, yet gentle. Natrol Ester C at Thrifty, Payless, Save-On, GNC, and all fine health food stores.
Save big on your choice of new vehicles at Leaf Chrysler Plymouth Jeep Eagle Dodge Isuzu. Save on 94 Jeep Cherokees, 4-door Sport, only $17,920. And now save on a new 94 Dodge Shadow, only $86.95, or a 94 Dodge Spirit with automatic air and cruise as low as $12,295. And for the truck lovers, see the new Dodge Dakota Sport, only $12,495. At Leaf Chrysler Plymouth Jeep Eagle Dodge Isuzu, Highway 70 West, Goldsboro. All payments based on 20% down, all prices plus tax, tags, and $138 dock fee.
The University of North Carolina Tar Heels face a major test tomorrow night as they travel to Atlanta to visit the Yellow Jacks of Georgia Tech. And WGBR will carry all the action live beginning at 8:30. Tar Heel basketball is brought to you locally by Sportsman's World, Waco Ham Deli, Wound Oil Company, Crawford Henderson Insurance, Lawrence Travel Agency, Leaf Chrysler Plymouth, and Moffitt Oil Company. Catch the Tar Heels and the Jackets tomorrow night at 8:30, right here on Goldsboro's very own 1150 WGBR.
Good evening and welcome to Sports Beat. We're here with Frank Marshall, provider, keeper of all knowledge, the strength of society, in short, a man. Hi, Frank, the pressure. You've got to be Mr. Fix-It, bringing home the bacon, nurturing the youngins, as well as knowing all the capital cities of countries in the Southern Hemisphere.
Well, it is a big job.
It's a tough job, Frank. Tell us how you do it.
Well, I just try to stay loose. Take it one day at a time.
Right.
Try not to get overconfident.
I've got it, Frank.
Cover all the bases. Stay on
Fine,
your toes.
yes,
Wear
Frank,
the right clothes.
Frank, being a man. A tough job, a big job, a changing job. From the Mennonite churches.
Each year, America spends more than $1 billion to repair and replace vandalized highway signs, and more than $15 million to clean up litter in national parks. Hi, I'm Linda Evans, national spokesperson for Take Pride in America, a grassroots effort to preserve and enhance our nation's resources. With every act that damages our resources, we Americans steal from ourselves and rob our children of our country's beauty. To find out how to help, call 1-800-US-PROUD.
1150 WGBR.
Back to the phones we go to Bill in Carson City, Nevada. All right, Bill. One other thing before I get into the specifics of how we dealt with Arsenio's attack, and that is that you have to understand that this kind of thing, and I want to just re-emphasize this, it, I think, ultimately works to my advantage when it is so distorted and so obviously incorrect that you got to go back to this business that if it's not rooted in truth, it doesn't have any substance to it whatsoever. It's not funny. It's not even a good parody, and it's not satire. Here is basically what we did. Arsenio sitting on his show for the past year and a half, making all of these real, personal accusations that I am a latent homosexual or this or that. And my response to that was, hey, I'm not the guy that's going to be found one day in a picture with a hot tub of Michael Jackson. And if I'm gay, shouldn't Arsenio love me? There's all kinds of ways to do it, but some of this stuff has gotten such that people in our company wanted to do something about it. So we decided to simply respond in the trade publications with an ad that chronicled Arsenio's fall, his tumble from prominence, and my ascension, using the facts. And we took a full-page ad and divvied it up into 3 ads and put 1/3 on 3 different pages. So it's a 3-page ad with 1/3 of each page. First page, bottom of the page, navy blue with half of the word Rush in big red letters all across the bottom. Guess who's beating the daylights out of Arsenio every night? It has my number, 3.7. Arsenio's a 2.2. Advantage Rush plus 68%. Turn the page. Same layout, navy blue. Rush in bright red letters. One half of the letters are USH. This time they're at the top of the 1/3 layout. Guess who's beating Arsenio big time with upscale viewers? Households in the 40,000 to 59.9 range. Rush has a 4.1 rating versus a 1.8 for Arsenio. Now, when it comes to advertising, that's not something Arsenio wants people to know. In the 40,000 plus 1 years of college, one or more year of college, Rush has a 3.4. Arsenio has a 1.5. A rating point is about 1 million homes for all, 942,000 homes. Final page. My picture is part of the ad, and it says, you guessed it, Rush Limbaugh, the fastest growing late night TV program. And then we source that. It's not our opinion, it's the rating sources that we cite, with the last line saying, sorry, Arsenio. So that's how we answer this stuff and deal with it, with fact and not in kind. Remain above the fray, so that whenever they're taking shots at you, they got to point to the sky.
WGBR. We all have our share of life's little problems. It could be a problem with a friend or a family member, or maybe even one related to your career. I'm Lee Maribal, and each weekday from 10 till noon, I take calls from listeners that have questions or problems probably similar to those you've had. I try to give advice to help you solve those problems, or at least help you take the first step. I hope you'll join me each weekday morning on Goldsboro's very own 1150 WGBR.
Breast cancer. 1 in 9 American women develop the disease in their lifetimes. Take the time to make your birthday count this year. Use your day as a reminder to schedule an appointment for a mammogram.
I'm Caroline McMillan. My husband, Congressman Elliot McMillan, and I want you to make your birthday count. Call your doctor for this important exam.
WGBR, Goldsboro's very own.
From ABC News, I'm Gary Nunn. Back to the witness stand. John Bobbitt has been questioned by the defense about allegations that he abused his wife Lorena, who admits dismembering him, but says it happened because he raped her. ABC's Al Dale reports from Manassas, Virginia.
Despite defense attempts to keep them out, the judge allowed gruesome pictures of the mutilation of John Bobbitt admitted into evidence. They showed the entire penis severed at what was referred to as the body wall. A urological surgeon described the 9-hour operation to reattach the penis, which was found in a field near the couple's apartment. A friend of the victim testified he was asleep on the couch outside the Bobbitt's bedroom the night of the incident, and it was he who rushed Bobbitt to a hospital emergency room. If Mrs. Bobbitt is convicted of malicious wounding, she could be sentenced to 20 years in prison and be deported to Venezuela. Al Dale, ABC News, Manassas, Virginia.
General Motors is closing its Delco chassis division plant in Bristol, Connecticut, eliminating more than 500 jobs. The plant produces water pumps, roller clutches, and bearings for the car industry and specialized bearings for the aerospace industry. President Clinton arrives in Prague. A welcome today at Runzine Airport in Prague. The president will try to convince one-time enemies of the West his strategy for stability is genuine and worth pursuing. Earlier in Brussels, he said that NATO is trying to stop the killing in Bosnia.
We are trying to contain the combat and the loss and trying to keep open humanitarian aid, hoping that we can all do something to convince all three sides that they have a real interest in stopping killing each other and taking whatever agreement they can get now.
Mr. Clinton met with European Union leaders and urged the 12-nation trading bloc to match NATO overtures to former Warsaw Pact countries by keeping markets open for goods from Eastern and from Central Europe. 3 crewmen unaccounted for after a helicopter crash in the Atlantic during a training flight 500 miles northeast of Bermuda. 1 survivor rescued. You're listening to ABC News.
Managing your business trip. Presented by Kinko's Copy Centers.
My plane didn't get in till 10 o'clock.
That late? What about our presentation? We made changes after you left.
Jim faxed them to me.
Where?
At our branch office. I made the changes there.
20 copies?
All collated, spiral bound.
Color charts?
Done.
branch office?
Sure we do. Kinko's, your branch office, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Over 600 locations nationwide. For the Kinko's near you, call 1-800-743-COPY.
It's the biggest appliance sale in America at the biggest appliance and electronics superstore. The National Home Appliance Sale at Sears Brand Central. America's favorite brands are on sale. Kenmore, GE, Whirlpool, Jen Air. Get a closeout price large capacity 3-cycle Kenmore washer, only $249.88. Matching dryer, $219.88. But only while quantities last. Save $48 on the pair. Prices may vary in Alaska, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico. Now at the National Home Appliance Sale at Sears Brand Central.
John Bradley, last survivor among the Marines, shown raising the Stars and Stripes on Iwo Jima in a classic World War II photograph, has died in Antigua, Wisconsin. The photo became the model for the Iwo Jima Memorial in Arlington National Cemetery. The government gives the Syntex Corporation permission to sell naproxen, an arthritis medication, as over-the-counter painkiller. Naproxen has been sold by prescription for the past 18 years. There's something fishy in Grimsby, England. There's good reason for it, but some new olfactory laws have people there fuming. ABC's Margot McDermott reports that the residents have launched a Save Our Smell campaign.
The culprit is Grimsby's fish refuse factory. The European Commission calls the smell offensive. It's imposing tough new pollution laws to force the factory to clean up the odor. To residents, fish means home. Their museum has launched a campaign with scratch and sniff cards so the smell won't be forgotten. It's Richard Dowdy's idea.
The smell of fish and Grimsby are synonymous. And in one respect, I think it's rather sad that we're going to see that aroma disappearing from our environment. But we're starting an SOS campaign, Save Our Smells.
But Grimsby's local council plans to follow the law and get rid of the town's fishy smell by the end of the year. Margot McDermott, ABC News, London.
Wall Street, Dow Jones Industrials are down 12.66 at 3852.85. Volume 181,260,000 shares. This is ABC News.
Right now at Value Right, you'll enjoy big savings during our Dollar Days sale at all participating pharmacies. Here's just one example. Accutrim caffeine-free maximum strength appetite suppressant is priced for extra savings. So this week you can pick up Accutrim in the 20-count tablet size for only $4. Use only as directed. Just one more reason you can't go wrong at Value Right. You'll find us in the Yellow Pages.
For the ABC Information Network.
The University of North Carolina Tar Heels face a major test tomorrow night as they travel to Atlanta to visit the Yellow Jacks of Georgia Tech. And WGBR will carry all the action live beginning at 8:30. Tar Heel basketball is brought to you locally by Sportsman's World, Waco Ham Deli, Wood Oil Company, Crawford Henderson Insurance, Lawrence Travel Agency, Leith Chrysler Plymouth, and Moffett Oil Company. Catch the Tar Heels and the Jackets tomorrow night at 8:30 right here on Goldsboro's very own 1150 WGBR.
Looks like we'll have to pretty much deal with a lot of cloud cover for the rest of today and most of tomorrow. Looks like the chance of rain will also be increasing later today. Around sunset, we have a good chance of getting some rain continuing through the evening hours and overnight as well. Highs in the mid-40s in the northern counties to a few low and mid-50s farther south. Lows tonight in the low to mid-40s, then the rain will be around tomorrow morning, ending in the afternoon. Highs ranging again from 40s in the north to 50s southward. I'm Bill Schmidt at the Weather Center.
And welcome to another excursion into broadcast excellence. This is the Rush Limbaugh program, where the relentless pursuit of the truth is the primary objective. You are listening to the most listened to radio show in the world, the EIB World Service on shortwave at 15.420 megahertz, 636 commercial radio stations in the United States and Guam. We are now the most listened to radio station in Los Angeles, the most listened to radio show in Los Angeles, most listened to radio show in San Francisco, the most listened to radio program in Chicago. A major rating period just was reported for Chicago, our highest ratings ever, and over 2 points ahead of the long, dominant, classic heritage radio station, Chicago. Call it as I won't mention, who cares? We are the most listened to radio show in Sacramento, California, the most listened to radio show in Orlando, Florida, the most listened to radio show in Phoenix, Arizona. It just keeps adding up. And I haven't even mentioned that we will soon be the most listened to radio show in Denver, the most listened to radio show in Baltimore, and we are now on the Armed Forces Radio Network. Over 22 million people a week tune into this program, 5 million at any one time. We are untouchable.
This is a special edition of the Rush Limbaugh program, America Held Hostage. And now, from our studios in New York City, here is Rush Limbaugh.
By the way, those of you upset about last night's Columbo, remember Shatner wears a wig. I don't. I don't have a stash. Day 357 of the raw deal for the poor and the middle class today. Day 376 for the rich and dead, who today welcome Thomas P. Tip O'Neill, Jr. 1,103 days left of the nightmare on Pennsylvania Avenue. 800-282-2882. I intended, and I still do, in this monologue here to talk about the NATO agreements that the president is hailing. They hadn't been there long enough for anything of substance and significance to have happened. I mean, he gets off the plane and says, we got 3 major agreements. I'm claiming victory now. Now, granted, on these summits, you do most of the work before you go so that when you get off the plane, you can say that you've done it. And basically, all you do is sign the agreement when you get there. And it's not a bad thing that Ukraine is going to get rid of 1,800 nukes if they really are. But that doesn't address the Russian nukes and Mr. Zhirinovsky. But there is even a greater question than what is happening in NATO with European nations. And I want to get to that. And I got a call up here. I don't quite understand what she's talking about, and I want to talk to her about it because it may be part of this. In Winter Haven, Florida, it's Carol. It says up here that the VP denied agreement with Ukraine wrong. What is your point?
Well, mega dittos from the Sunshine State. First of all,
Thank you.
We listen to you every day on the way home from school.
Wait. You're in school?
No. My sons, they think you're so funny and they love you.
Oh, thanks.
Along with me.
How old are they?
10, 9, and 6. Plus, I have 2 nephews and a niece that travel with us, and they're all 11, 6, and 5, I think.
Yeah.
But they're a great group of kids.
I bet they are.
Future entrepreneurs.
They must be if they've already found the magic and wonders of the EIB Network.
Well, they do. They love the show tremendously. My question is I'd like to have your comments on the fact that on Tim Russert's show on Sunday, the vice president was asked, is there an agreement with the Ukraine for the reduction of the nuclear missiles from their country? And he flat out said, no, there is no agreement. There is no arrangement for any kind of agreement or contract or anything to be made with this man. And then on the following shows, Les Aspin says, yes, there is an agreement in the works. I don't know the name of the man who's the head of the Ukraine right now, but he is going to be flown to Moscow with the president, and they will have a great unveiling there. And
the Ukraine president's name is Leonid Kravchuk.
Yes. And I just think it's very interesting that this vice president is supposed to be Bill Clinton's right-hand man, and yet...
Oh, now, come on. Wait. Just a second here, Carol. Now, remember what I said in the first hour. What is the primary objective of Bill Clinton? To fool people. Well, he is. I mean, that's what he has to do. Do I have to document this, or can you people just resurrect your memories? And can we just agree that the whole campaign was fraud and deceit?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, okay, look, let's just do that. Now, what is the reason you would send Al Gore out on Meet the Press? And don't think for a minute that these administration flunkies that hit the television talk shows on Sunday aren't pre-programmed before they head over to the studios. They are. That's why they all say the same thing, almost word for word, about how horrible it is the Republicans are attacking the president today. His mother died and buried and all that.
And Moynihan does, and he doesn't.
They all get their marching orders. I watched a little bit of Nightline last night, and the president even took it up himself. Well, I'm doing fine. I'll be okay. It's It's tough to, you know, I'd like to do my job. I have a very important job to do, and I'd like to do it without the, but you know, that's the territory. So he allows him to place, he's placed himself above the fray, while the underlings go out there and talk about how horrible and how rotten it is he's being dealt with this way. But he's a tough guy. He'll handle it. He can deal with it. The reason you send Al Gore out to meet the press to say that there isn't an agreement with the Ukrainian president, Leonid Kravchuk, is so that Clinton, when he gets off the plane, can say we got an agreement, thereby creating the impression that it was the force of his presence that got the deal.
Well, don't you think it's interesting that it would be the vice president denying the agreement and everyone else in the cabinet saying, yes, there is an agreement? Why wouldn't it be the other way around? The vice president saying, yes, the president is working very hard for an agreement. We expect an agreement immediately, and have all the...
Because I don't know where they got their wires crossed, but again, let me state this. This is not a difficult thing to understand. All I'm telling you is that everybody knew there was an agreement in the works. There always are. With some, it's like telethons. Can I let you in on a secret of telethons?
Sure.
Let's say that we're going to have the Common Cold Telethon. That I, Rush Limbaugh, am trying to get the handle on the Common Cold Telethon, and my goal is to raise $20 million in my telethon. The rule of thumb, standard operating procedure, must be done. You've got to raise 98% of your money before you ever go on the air. When they go on the air on all these telethons, they got 98% of their goal reached. They start at zero on TV, but you've seen, like Jerry's Kids, you go in year-round to 7-Eleven, you put a dime or a quarter in the box at the cash register, they're collecting money year-round. Right. They don't do it all on that weekend. Well, the same thing with summits and agreements. You do the negotiating, you get most of it done, all that's left is to sign. And if you are successful in getting negotiations to that point before you go, then you send your guys out to say, we got this big deal, we think we're close, we think we'll handle it. The president gets off the plane, has a meeting or two, and by force of his personality, magically, out of thin air, this young, dynamic, vigorous leader overwhelmed the evil men of the world and got his deal. Aren't we lucky to have him?
Well,
that's how it works. Now, what happened? Al Gore went a little too far. Aspen and these other guys said, yeah, we're close, yeah, we're working on it. Al Gore said, I don't think the president has talked to anyone about this. Look, you've got to understand... You have to understand fraud and deceit about this. It's look, it's not exclusive to this bunch.
Well, I thought it was very humorous because he is supposed to be the number 2 man and such a dynamic individual behind the president, and I just think
he is.
Don't you think he chooses every word that he says? Doesn't it come across?
Well, look. Based on your responses to what I'm saying, I'm not convinced yet you've gotten the point. He was not out of the loop. You're acting like you think he didn't know what was going on. He did know everything was going on. He just chose to try to give the president an even bigger impact by saying that nothing had been done. Well, they're trying to create the illusion here that the president got off the phone and no negotiations had taken place whatsoever, and voila, I mean, within minutes of hitting the red carpet off the airplane, these Russian guys and the Ukrainian leaders saw Clinton and said, oh, man, we better sign right now. Look at him. He's getting off that plane with a sense of resolve. That man is strutting towards us with purpose. He means business. Where do I sign? Deal done. What a great president we have. But I want to, Carol, thanks for the call, and give my best to the young crumb crunchers that you drive back and forth to school.
Well, they'll be very, very happy that we got a chance to say hello.
Thank you. Tell them
yes,
I said hi. All right. Here's the real question, and I know you military people out there are going to understand this. In fact, this is something. It's the commentary of the newsletter coming up in February, State of the Union newsletter. The NATO alliance, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, was designed to align the Western European nations with the United States in opposition to the expansionism of the Soviet Union. Now that the expansionism of the Soviet Union has, and I say in quotes, been halted, people are questioning the purpose of NATO. The president has gone to Europe on what is in essence another liberal retreat. They want to hold hands around the table, talk about nation building. I mean the things that this administration consider to be paramount foreign policy objectives. Gays, women in the military, peacekeeping, famine relief, refugee resettlement. That's how they look at the military now. That's their primary objective. They don't understand the purposes of the military. They don't understand the concept of deterrence. They look at the military really as a focus of evil. I don't think they really understand the concept that the world is still a place governed by the aggressive use of force. They think that the world can be governed by good vibes. And so they're going over to have this little Est-type retreat and just try to send good vibes in a New Age way by holding hands around the table. And let's bring in some more nations. Let's bring in some of the Warsaw Pact nations. Those were the Eastern European nations aligned with the commies. Let's bring in the Warsaw Pact guys, and let's just make NATO even bigger. And that way it'll be even stronger. And that's one of the objectives that he has in mind. But the real question is, what was NATO? You can say everything you want about it, but NATO was the United States. If the United States had not pledged and had not been understood to be able to follow through on that pledge and that commitment to defend Europe should it be attacked by the Soviet Union, then NATO would